Good evening, I'm Ces Orenia Drilon.
I'm Pauline Verzosa.
And I'm Sean Yao.
The big stories tonight. A kidnapped businessman and his driver have been found dead nearly 2 weeks after they went missing. Among the leads authorities are pursuing, this may be another Pogo-linked kidnapping and killing.
And less than a day after it came into force, U.S. President Donald Trump announces a 90-day suspension on reciprocal tariffs with the exception of China. Now, how did the tariff pause affect global markets? And more importantly, how will higher import levies affect the ordinary consumer here in the Philippines? We'll discuss that with BPI SVP and lead economist June Neri.
And starting a sustainable lifestyle can feel overwhelming, but what if all it takes is one simple swap? We'll see how a locally grown space makes eco choices more accessible to Filipinos later on for sustainability.
Nandun po tayo sa direksyon na tinitignan na yung mga involved po dito ay possibly involved din po sa ilang kidnapping incidents po.
A steel tycoon and his driver were found dead in Rizal 10 days after they were reported missing. The PNP says it is exploring all angles, including reports that offshore gaming operators may have been involved in the crime.
For its part, Malacanang has ordered a thorough investigation, vowing not to sleep on this case. Brian Castillo has tonight's big story.
At first glance, these nylon bags look like ordinary garbage by the roadside of Barangay Macabud in Rodriguez, Rizal. But upon close inspection by residents on April 9, the bags bore 2 dead bodies. The victims had nothing on but underwear, their heads bloodied, hands tied, and their faces wrapped with duct tape.
Pero ang pagkakabaloktot niya yung isa, yung medyo maliit, medyo ang bench niya pababa eh. Ayun, ganun. Kaya pinagkasya siya sa 2 bag.
The Philippine National Police later on identified the remains as those of Filipino-Chinese businessman and steel magnate Anson Ke or Anson Tan and his driver Armani Pabilio.
There were signs of bruises and some body injuries po doon po at meron din pong sign ng strangulation po.
The victims were last seen alive on March 29 while leaving their office in Valenzuela when both did not come home. Kes family filed a report with the police. By April 8, the businessman's black luxury van was found abandoned in Barangay Bahay Toro, Quezon City. For the PNP, this is not a plain case of kidnapping. According to a reliable source, the tycoon's family paid ransom in 3 installments, amounting to almost 100 million pesos.
Although we are still confirming whether or not ransom money was given, kung kidnapping ba talaga yung main objective po, kung bakit po humantong po ito sa pagpatay, because yung mga the usual na naitatala po nating kidnapping case kapag ka po nakapagbayad ng ransom po ay inire-release naman po.
Authorities are also looking into the angle of this crime being related to illegal offshore gaming.
As to the issue nga po ng Pogo, isa po yun sa tinitingnan po nating angulo and possible involvement po ng isang grupo behind this incident and previous incidents na involved po sa Pogo-related operation po.
The government has formed a special investigation task group to investigate the killings. PNP Anti-Kidnapping Group Chief Police Brigadier General Elmer Ragay has also been relieved from his post.
Not only about this case and the way they handle this case, but also in previous case po. If you are not competent enough to deliver what is expected to you, then you will be relieved from your position po.
The Marcos administration vows a thorough probe into the case of Ke and his driver. It says details of the businessman's abduction were only released now at the request of his family for privacy.
Hindi po ito tutulugan ng gobyerno. Ang lahat po na nagaganap dito ay pinagbilin po ng Pangulo na dapat imbestigahang mabuti.
For now, the Chinese-Filipino Business Club is not finding comfort at promises of rigorous probes. What they are is alarmed that there will be more of these crimes against members of their community, some of whom are already getting threats.
As Chinoy business people, medyo nalulungkot kami na bakit yung ganun na incident nangyayari. Marami doon, it happened to them but they kept quiet kaysa pinapaalam So, you could say na there is fear among those who were kidnapped. And then they would like to play it safe.
For News 5, Brian Castillo. We are One News.
We now speak to Cecilio Pedro, Honorary President of the Federation of Filipino-Chinese Chambers of Commerce and Industry, Incorporated. Good evening to you and welcome to The Big Story, sir. First of all, you were one of the first who came out on media about the abduction, and now we hear the PNP linking this to a possible pogo killing. What is your comment on this, sir?
Yeah, I could agree, kasi from the pictures we received, mukhang binugbog si Andy o Anson. So if it's just a plain kidnapping case, normally pag binayaran, pinapakawalan. But this time, hindi lang binayaran, binugbog pa, saka pinatay, pati yung driver. So there is something deeper that needs better, maybe more investigation, and malaman natin kung what is truly or what is behind, bakit na-kidnap, binugbog, tapos pinatay pa after receiving ransom.
But being in the steel business, what could possibly link him to pogo operations, sir?
He's in many businesses. Aside from the steel business, he's also in the restaurant business, in the warehouse business. Marami siyang negosyo pinapasukan. And so I don't know from which source or from where is it coming from. But definitely all other areas should be looked into properly. And it's not a simple kidnapping case. Kasi ang kidnapping, pera lang ang hinahanap. This one, binugbog talaga. If you see from the pictures, pasampasa yung mukha niya at saka tinali. So it's hate crime. I think may galit, matinding galit. Kaya ginawa ito kay Anson.
And you would confirm the payment of ransom of what amount, sir? Sa pagkakaalam nyo, magkano po?
Wala akong confirmation It's from the news, from rumors going around in social media na binayaran daw. And I don't know how much was really paid, But the fact is, money went around, and I think the victim, the family was willing to pay as long as the person will be released unharmed. Not knowing na pagkalabas nito, pinatay pa.
Normally, sir, the Filipino-Chinese community are mum about such cases. What made you come forward to media about this particular case?
We are worried, we are concerned, and we are at this point not just concerned, we are outraged at what is happening. This is not just concerning the Chinese or Filipino-Chinese businessman. This is about the peace and order in our country today. We need peace and order. We need to be restored so that we can generate more investments coming into the Philippines and create more jobs. This is, for me, is a no-no for investment. Matatakot Pati yung tourists will be afraid now to come to the Philippines knowing that they could be kidnapped. Okay. So this is really bad for all of us, not just for the Filipino-Chinese, for the entire community and the entire country as a whole.
Okay, it wasn't only you who spoke up. Actually, si Eva Poon ay nag-post rin sa kanyang Facebook account. Sabi niya nakakabahala ito kasi hindi nga nababalita at ang dami-dami daw mga insidente. According to official numbers by the PNP, for 2025 alone, we've had 12 kidnappings. Supposedly, only if 2 of those are foreigners. Base sa inyong pagkakaalam sa FFCCCII, ilan po yung numbers ng kidnapping cases that you guys are aware of?
Normally, hindi ni-report sa amin yung mga, alam niyo yung mga Filipino-Chinese, takot yan Kung may kidnapping as much as possible, they keep it to themselves and settle as soon as possible para buhay pa yung biktima. Yan ang ultimate objective, buhay. But this time, the last time, naputulan yung daliri ng one of the victim, is a 14-year-old child or teenager was kidnapped and pinutol pa yung daliri bago binayaran. And this time, hindi lang daliri ang pinutol, patay na ito, pinapatay ngayon. So this is very difficult to accept. For us, it's a no-no. It's something we are definitely terribly worried.
I'm also curious, one quick question. What is the sentiment of the Filipino-Chinese business community amongst these times? You referred to being worried about the peace and order situation. In your assessment, nasa na ba tayo? Are we back to 1990s level when sobrang rampant yung kidnappings? Or are we slowly slipping back into that?
Wow, it's very hard to comment along those lines, you know. But the fact that someone we know and it's part of the community where he's well known, and to be kidnapped is one thing. To be killed after paying ransom is another thing. That's the worst part. So walang awa itong kidnappers na ito. So they are out. The intention was really to kill. It's not really for plain kidnapping. So matindi yung we have to look into the motives behind. Hindi simpleng kidnapping lang ito. Siguro may galit o may transaction na nangyari between them and it was not properly fulfilled. So they went that far to kidnap that guy and ask for ransom and kill him at the end of the day.
So sir, balikan ko lang that unfortunate incident of that 14-year-old Chinese student who was kidnapped in Taguig. This is not related to this particular incident, or is there a possibility na pareho yung mastermind?
I hope not. But the initial report that came to us was they were asking for $20 million as ransom. Pareho yata eh. For the teenager that was kidnapped, the initial demand was also for $20 million. That's what we heard in social media or some rumors going around. And eventually they settled to sa teenager. But this one, iba ito. I think it was not really for money. It was out to get him.
So right now, sir, I mean, what do you want to see done about this case? What are your expectations from the government? And right now, would you recommend for the Filipino-Chinese community to already make security arrangements?
Wow, I don't want to create unnecessary panic at this point. Crime is part of any community. There is always crime. But we should know the reason behind this crime. The main culprit should be put behind bar or para sa akin, death penalty is the best penalty for kidnappers like this. Aside from that, we also want to assure the community that this is just an isolated case. That generally it's still peaceful to do business here in the Philippines, to visit the Philippines. And there are so many plus factors favoring investments here in the Philippines. And kidnapping, as not only here, in other parts of the world, there are also kidnapping. But itong kidnapping tapos pinapatay, this is something we don't want to see in our community. This is something that needs to be addressed as soon as possible. Is it kidnapping or is it plain murder? If it's just kidnapping with murder, ayaw namin yun. Ito talagang kailangan ayusin natin, kailangan hanapin natin yung mga mastermind. Hindi lang yung mga kidnappers, yung mastermind, the people behind should be penalized, should be put behind bar, should be accountable for this crime.
Mr. Pedro, since the PNP is linking this crime and the abduction of the 14-year-old to Pogo, what do you have to say about the government's efforts to clamp down on Pogo operations, which is yet unfinished?
Wow. Probably the logic why blaming it on Pogo, sarado na kasi yung Pogo, and many of the Pogos are still around, and wala na silang trabaho. So they'll be looking at other ways of making money, and this could be one of them. So probably that is the reason. But I really don't know what is the reason behind this particular kidnapping. We cannot just blame on Pogo, not knowing what is. Kasi may mga Pogo na legitimate. Hindi naman lahat ng Pogo masama. Ang hinahanap natin yung mga illegal, yung mga namamatay tao, yung mga tawag dyan, I don't know how to name them, but they are really the bad syndicate, the bad elements in the community. And these are the guys we need to arrest, we need to neutralize, and we need to bring them to justice.
Yun din nga yung naisip ko, no, Mr. Pedro, kung convenient scapegoat ba to keep blaming yung POGO or POGO-related people na sila yung responsible parties behind these crimes. Do you think it's a convenient scapegoat para lang may masabi, may masagot sa atin yung gobyerno? Or do you think it's also possible na talagang may katotohanan?
As I said, hindi ko alam yung hindi ako nag-investigate. So all of this could be possible, but that's just one of them. There could be other angles that we should look into. More importantly, kidnapping is wrong. At the end of the day, any kidnapping is wrong.
Should the Federation have an official stand on POGO operators, legal or illegal?
Yes, we are at the forefront. We are against POGO in the sense that we also receive this kind of complaints from the Chinese embassy. They are also against POGO. Dahil yung POGO, the victims are mostly Chinese in mainland China. And we don't want this POGO operation to hurt our relationship with China, because we need China to continue looking at the Philippines as a potential for investments, for bringing their factories back to the Philippines so we can generate more jobs. So para sa akin, legally, I don't mind. But illegal, hindi po pwede sa amin yan. And especially those elements that are involved, not just in illegal POGO, but in, anong tawag yan? There is a term they use. I ran out of terms. It's lokohan. Niloloko nila yung mga nag-gambling inside using online, which is really, really not just hurting us, but hurting Chinese in mainland China, which is not only China. I think it's all over the world. As long as you join them in this online gambling, they will take advantage of you, and it's not good for all of us.
Mr. Pedro, one quick question, not related to kidnapping and our peace and order situation, but to Trump's reciprocal tariffs, which he just suspended, except for China. Ano po yung naging general reaction nung chamber sa mga tariffs na ito? And are you satisfied with the government response?
The war right now going on, the trade war is between America and China. And definitely this is going to hurt both countries. The Americans will be penalized with higher prices, and China will slow down because they cannot export as many goods to America. But on our side in the Philippines, I expect this probably could even benefit us, because as they cannot find a market in America, the Chinese will find other markets. And Philippines is a good market for them to transfer some of their exports, or even transfer some of their business back to the Philippines so they can export from the Philippines to the America or to USA. So this can be beneficial to us if we can put ourselves or put the house in order to accommodate this possibility. More so, with the challenge, I'm sure prices will come down. China just devalued their currency, yuan. So it's going to be cheaper now to buy Chinese products. Plus the fact that I'm sure they will have excess capacity and excess inventory, which they will sell at a lower price. And hopefully those lower prices will come to the Philippines and benefit us. But we must be ready because this will also affect other parts of the world. Pati yung Southeast Asia, other countries will also be competing, will bring down their prices for exports. So our exports could also be affected, in the sense that we have to be better with our competitors in terms of export prices. And efficiency is the name of the game. Kailangan maghanda tayo maging efficient. Efficiency to bring down costs, so we will make our products more competitive, better quality, and be competitive with the best of the best in the world, which we could if we put our minds together, the private sector, the public sectors, in partnership, PPP. Let's magtulungan tayo between government, private sector, and in the process, make our goods the best in the world.
We thank you for your time, Cecilio Pedro, Honorary President of the Federation of Filipino-Chinese Chambers of Commerce and Industry.
Maraming salamat.
In other news, self-confessed drug lord Kerwin Espinosa, who is running for mayor of Albuera town in Leyte, is now recovering after being shot during a campaign rally this afternoon. Espinosa is waiting for his turn, or was waiting for his turn, to speak in Barangay Tinagan when he was shot. He was immediately rushed to the hospital. Doctors declared him out of danger after sustaining a gunshot wound on his shoulder. Investigation is now underway on the suspects and motive.
We're just going to take a quick break, but coming up next, how do U.S. reciprocal tariffs affect prices of commodities worldwide, just like your favorite imported cell phone? Will it cost more here in the Philippines? We'll discuss that next. Stay tuned.
You're watching the big story here on One News. U.S. President Donald Trump has hit the pause button for tariffs on most countries for 90 days. But here's the catch. These nations will still be taxed at a 10% rate on imports, with Chinese goods levied by as much as 125%. The 3-month suspension on tariffs will also be used as time to conduct negotiations. If anything, the American president's U-turn or about-turn could only prolong the uncertainty of how much the tariffs really are and how long they will be in place. This also gives Trump the opportunity to turn the trade war heat on China, while at the same time ease some fears on the home front that the U.S. is headed into recession. As for POTUS, well, he's not the least bothered with the turmoil caused by his on-again, off-again tariffs. For him, this shows the flexibility of his leadership, and Trump says he's not done yet.
Well, I thought that people were jumping a little bit out of line. They were getting yippee, you know. No other president would have done what I did, and it had to be done. China was by far the biggest abuser in history, and others also, but somebody had to do it. You have to have flexibility. I could say, here's a wall, and I'm going to go through that wall. You know, look, nothing's over yet, but we have a tremendous amount of spirit from other countries, including China. China wants to make a deal. They just don't know how quite to go about it. They're proud people.
Bank of the Philippine Islands lead economist June Neri worries that the tariffs imposed by the U.S. could dampen industrial output and slow gross domestic product growth. We now talk to BPI SVP and lead economist June Neri. Good evening and welcome to the big story. Tell us about your worries, because most of those we've talked to on the show, at least, have indicated that it's not much of a problem for the Philippines, at least.
Yeah, good evening to you and your viewers, ladies. Yeah, we're worried about a lot of risks that can happen. We're concerned about how all of these tariffs will actually end, and whether the Philippines can really cope with all of these challenges. No? Of course, number one is, as we had written in our write-up, very quickly prepared, is it's going to affect key industries directly. Those who sell to the U.S., be it electronics exporters, food manufacturers, or even raw agricultural product sellers, are of course going to be the ones affected directly if the new tariffs will make it more difficult for Americans to spend on them. So those are the direct risks that we're watching very closely. And again, we made a very rough estimate that since our exports are around 2.6% of our GDP, let's say 1/4 of that isn't able to enter the U.S. market anymore in 2025, then that would account for about 0.5% of GDP. You know? So instead of growing by 6.3% as we projected this year, we should end up at around 5.8%. So, but we're happy that there has been a suspension of 90 days, and this should translate to a smaller impact on our negative impact on our economic growth, and fewer industries are going to be affected negatively.
This reprieve of 90 days, we shouldn't be misled by it, right? I mean, should not make us relax, but rather plan about the impact of the reciprocal tariffs on the Philippines.
Of course, anytime in the next 90 days, Mr. Trump can just,
change his mind again.
Oh yeah, change his mind. Press the play button. After pressing pause, he will continue with it. That's something we cannot rule out. It's something we need to prepare for. And again, I think it's very important. It was mentioned by your previous guest that we be prepared in the negotiations with the United States, just like every other country is preparing. Because this might actually be an opportunity for us to carry out reforms in our country in the need to meet some of the conditions of the U.S. If it will mean cutting corruption, for example, because the USTR has identified corruption as one of the reasons why the US should be implementing higher tariffs on the Philippines. They could not sell their products. Their products could not get through our country because of corruption and all of these inefficiencies, lack of infrastructure. So if our negotiators are forced to ask our our lawmakers, our leaders, the private sector, the public sector, to shape up, no, so that we can meet the conditions that the U.S. asks and not have to suffer from higher tariffs, then this actually becomes the bright side of Mr. Trump's pressures on using tariffs.
We had Dan Lachica of SAPI last night on our program, and he is not as pessimistic as you are. In fact, he predicts not a probable increase in exports compared to a flat projection for 2025. So why are you worried if he, of the industry itself, doesn't seem, he says, what he says is that a wait and see attitude would be the best option to take?
Well, we're not ruling out a surprise positive outcome from this. No? Many of the folks we hear who are very optimistic cite the fact that we are being punished with lower tariffs than everybody else. And this should translate to diversion of trade towards the Philippines and more investments being carried out here in our country, since we are able to sell it at a much more reasonable price to the United States. But, to a large extent, some of this could be wishful thinking. It's good to hope for these things, but in the short term, will definitely be some adjustments need to be done, that have to be done. For example, moving plants away from Vietnam to the Philippines or from some other country to the Philippines, that will take a lot of time studying how to set things up and whether we are competitive enough to make up for the tariff differential. If the tariff differential is 20%, our energy costs, combined with the cost of doing business, combined with the ease of doing business, now you have to get all of these permits from barangays and all over, so many things, whereas if you go to Vietnam, you only have a one-stop shop to deal with. If an investor weighs all of these things, our advantage might actually not be there at all. Yes,
Yeah.
can be cancelled, offset by all of these negatives. No? So again, hopefully it will help us shape up, but we can't really expect big improvements to happen in the short term. And it's better to really be prepared for to have the contingencies necessary to keep the economy going. And it's good that we have a strong domestic economy. It's a big advantage, I think.
Well, June, it seems only economists are a little bit worried because, like you said, and just like the White House said, this period, this 90-day pause, it could be, the period for negotiations. And in fact, we saw Vietnam scramble right away, get in touch with the White House. A bunch of other countries, we saw how the Singaporean Prime Minister reacted. And he was actually warning of second-round effects. Again, they only were slapped with 10% and we 17%. And yet, he is warning that it's actually the New World Order. It's like a modern economics. It's that reorg that he's afraid of. With this pause, would it be more evident, you say, that China is really the target here? And does that make us safe? And what about the second round effects that we could still face a recession, a worldwide recession?
Yeah, so again, the 10% is still there. And 10% we think is higher than what we deserve. Our equivalent tariff to the US is only around, in our estimate, 7%. So 10 is actually, it's not going to help us much. So 17, of course, is worse. No? But for all other countries, 10 is actually quite high. For some, like maybe India, it's not much of a difference. But for us, it's actually not favorable. So again, we'll be able to penetrate the U.S. market continuously if Americans will now have to pay 10% more on products that come from our country. They can go to Ecuador for bananas. They can go for other countries that have substitutes of what we produce. and reject all of our exports altogether sometime in the near term. No? So that pause button doesn't really provide complete relief. Of course, a little bit of relief. And again, something that we should be watching more closely. So economists don't sleep anymore at night, Sean, no? Because of all of these challenges. No? And on the other concern that you had, what was the second one again?
The second
Sean?
one was that a lot of people see this as a room for negotiation. That's also what the White House press officer was saying. You know, a lot of countries have called us, and we expect that in these 90 days, habang nakapos, ay mag-uusap kami. I'm just worried na parang, do we have someone negotiating? Parang everyone's so chill here. I could be wrong. I wish I was wrong. And also, you know, like, what do you think the government should be doing? Should we be pursuing like a free trade agreement? That's what Dan Lachica of SAPI was saying. He's been saying it since 2018.
Yeah, well, Secretary Roque and Secretary Go, they're the ones who are really dedicating their time and resources to put together a negotiating position on the side of the Philippines. No? And again, it has to have the support of our lawmakers. It has to have the support of the private sector. No? And we should be able to adjust quickly to the demands of the United States. That's why I see this, you know, a bit of a positive thing for the Philippines if it will push us to move faster in our reform programs, improve education, improve the ease of doing business, build up our infrastructure more efficiently. Then it becomes a blessing, actually. All of this pressure coming from Mr. Trump, aside from lower oil prices that we are now enjoying, and all of the other decline in commodity prices, the price of rice continuing to go down. If all these positive factors fall in place, then it should be, again, hopeful for us to see improvements. But we have to strengthen our position and make sure it's something that's supported by all of these stakeholders, Sean.
All right. June Neri, we do hope you have a good night's sleep tonight. Thank you so much. Senior Vice
Not
President.
for another 90 days, not even the next 90 days.
Senior Vice President and Lead Economist of BPI.
Now, in other news, cabinet members attended Senator Amy Marcos's hearing today on former President Rodrigo Duterte's arrest. Present earlier were Justice Secretary Boying Remulla, Foreign Affairs Secretary Enrique Manalo, and the leadership of the PNP. First that was discussed was why was Duterte immediately surrendered to the ICC without the option for extradition.
Kung meron po tayo ng ICC, nakakatulong sana kay President Duterte na hindi po siya ililipad. Siya po yung mismo nag-atras ng ating membership.
Kaya nga
Kasi yung po yung malinaw po na may treaty po na kinakailangan para ho magkaroon ng extradition. Wala pong treaty Kasi nga, nag-withdraw na tayo sa ICC.
bakit mo binahe? Pwede mo namang isurrender dito sa local courts natin. Ipakulong mo dito sa Pasay. Bakit mo pa sinurrender?
Yun po yung yun ang best judgment namin. Yun po ang tingin namin na mabuti po sa ating bansa. Yun po yung aming paningin ng pinakamabuting gawin under the circumstances for our country. Yun po ang aming tingin, ang tama namin ginawa.
On the other hand, former Supreme Court Associate Justice Adolfo Ascuna insisted that the surrender of any Filipino to a foreign entity without a proper treaty is inappropriate.
The procedure in the ICC calls for bringing the person to a Philippine court first before surrendering the person to the ICC. So if you do not follow that, it can be argued that there is what we call abuse of process, and an abuse of process can be raised in the ICC itself.
Meanwhile, Senator Robin Padilla got emotional when Senator Bongo delivered his manifestation on the condition of the former president upon his arrest. In his own manifestation, he zeroed in on how the government seemed to play traitor to a leader who fought communism in the country. Padilla even said he would have cited in contempt those officials behind Duterte's arrest, but he did not because there was no order from the former president, who also happens to be PDP Laban chairman.
Yan ba talaga ang kapalaran ng mga presidenteng lumalaban sa komunista? Isang in-exile, isang sinurrender? Ano ba po talaga itong bansa natin? Tayo po ba'y demokratiko talaga? Tayo po ba'y under control ng komunista?
Meanwhile, the new Octa research survey results are out, and it showed that out of 66 candidates for senator in the May 2025 polls, 18 would have a statistical chance of winning. First on the list is re-electionist Bongo, who got 64%. Congressman Erwin Tulfo is also statistically tied with him at 61%, while his brother Ben Tulfo is at ranks 3rd to 5th with 48%. Former Senate President Tito Soto and Senator Bong Revilla are at ranks 3 to 8 with 46 and 45% respectively, while Senator Lito Lapid, former Senator Ping Lacson, and Senator Pia Cayetano share the 4th to 10th spots. On the bottom of the Magic 12, Senator Bato de la Rosa, Mayor Abby Binay, and Congresswoman Camille Villar, while former Senator Manny Pacquiao, TV host Willie Revillame, former DILG Secretary Benhur Abalos, and former Senator Bam Aquino all got 29% to vie for the 12th to 18th spots. On the other hand, Kiko Pangilinan and incumbent Senators Francis Tolentino and Amy Marcos would have to work harder as they share the 12th to 19th spots with 27%. The survey was conducted from March 18 to 24 with 1,200 respondents.
Time to pause for another quick break, but when we return, we take a look at how one simple swap could help kickstart our sustainable lifestyles. We will be speaking to the founder of Simula PH, a locally grown space featuring sustainable and zero-waste products. Keep it here on One News.
Thank you for staying with us here on The Big Story. From breaking news, we go to breaking cycles, because even small actions can lead to a greener world. Here we feature initiatives that push for a more sustainable future, one story at a time. Welcome to my favorite segment, Sustainability. Real change starts small in our homes, in our habits, and in the communities. Tonight, we're joined by the founder of Simula PH, Celina Alejandrino. Simula PH is a locally grown space that makes sustainable and zero-waste products more accessible, offering simple, everyday swaps to help you begin your journey to sustainability. Welcome to The Big Story, Celina.
Hi, nice to have you.
Tell us how you started. This was in 2018,
18, actually.
To the day.
Yeah, to the day.
It's your anniversary. 7 years.
Yes.
The universe is speaking to us.
So thank you so much actually for actually helping us celebrate our anniversary today. We started Simula way back in 2018 when we realized, me and my partner were actually just discussing about turtles in the sea. We love the beach. So whenever we see animals online, we really watch their videos, and we really saw one thing that struck us was the turtle with the straw on their face. And then that's when we realized I think I have to start something that can make the world a better place. It sounds cliche, but I really felt we had to do something about it. So then, before we started selling eco bags for our family and friends. And actually today we started selling them via Facebook to our family and friends. And then they started asking us, do you have other things that you can sell to us that's an alternative to plastic-free items in the household? So me and my partner Maan, we decided to expand our products in the website. So Simula was
Some of
born.
which you're
yes,
bringing.
actually, I have a few items here that I wanted to show you. So actually, you won't notice there's a lot of alternatives to plastic already, and I'm happy to say that we've touched most of the categories that you can think of. So I feel like Simula is a place for you to probably explore new things that you can
And
swap
to
at
start
home.
your sustainability
Yes,
journey.
yes. That's the reason why we called it Simula, because we want to be the place where you can start. We want the place for people that are curious also about sustainability. And I think most of the people, they don't really know what sustainability is
Actually.
at the beginning.
Yeah.
And it feels intimidating
It's
for
hard
people.
to explain
It's a
sometimes.
very big word.
Yes.
It's a very big word.
Yeah, and for us as like regular people, I feel like sustainability is something that's easy once you don't have to think
So
of
what's
it as
your
a complicated-
definition?
For me, sustainability is making sure there's less waste, creating a circular and resilient economy for us. As much as possible, when I try to use things, I try to repurpose it or upcycle it in different ways. So it can start at home, in your office. Actually, even with the little things that you do on a day-to-day basis, like when I buy my coffee, I make sure that I bring my own cups. So it really starts with you. That's the reason why one of our taglines in Simula is Ikaw ang Simula, or Tayo ang Simula, because I really believe that change starts with myself. So
And I love because when you think of your purpose, you just have to imagine or picture that turtle that had a straw stuck in its nose, right? And then it would be easy for you to remember your why you're doing it, right? And I see a turtle here actually on the table.
So
Here,
cute.
so I get it.
yeah, this turtle is made of, it's called the brand Tagpi. It's made with upcycled fabric. So one of our brand partners, they actually save the seas by selling plush toys that's made of upcycled fabric. So it's called Tagpi kasi tagpi-tagpi fabric siya.
Pinagtagpi-tagpi
Yes.
ang lumang maong, lumang damit.
Yes. So actually, you won't realize, even with your clothes, you can upcycle a lot of things. So even with this one, so we have our fabric dish covers. So this is in exchange for cling wrap actually at home. So you don't have to use cling wrap to cover your bowls. And then what's good about this is Seed Wellbeing, one of our partners. They're a deaf conscious community that supports upcycling also. So one of our
Actually, I buy from Wellbeing.
Yes.
Pero sabon yung binibalik ko
Yes,
sa kanila.
they have also yes. So
Oh,
it's
I
an
didn't know
option.
na actually may mga ganito, but they're also still made of plastic. I mean, they're reusable.
Yes.
So now I get the idea na I can actually upgrade pa my
Yes.
sustainability by
Or
by
ikaw na
using
tahiin
retaso.
mo yung
Tahiin ko yung
sarili
sarili.
mo.
Actually, kaya ko to. Kaya ng powers ko
Actually,
to.
so this is an alternative swap that you didn't really think, and that's what we want our customers to also express. Na oo nga, no, meron palang option.
Alam mo, you could actually list yung ginagawa mo and see anong yung plastic na to, how can I replace
Yes,
it, right?
correct,
Yeah,
correct.
be a little more conscious and aware. Yeah,
Yes.
aware.
I think more of like intentional also when you purchase things. You always make sure na tama na yung budol. Parang ako, I
Oo
always
nga,
think about
tama.
if kailangan ko ba to or meron pa ako sa bahay. Lagi ko siyang iniisip, and I think that's what we try to also explain to our customers na when you go to Simula, that's why we call it like a community rather than a business, because we feel like we want to share with our customers yung experience namin, and we don't want to push them to buy, lalo na if they don't need it. And kami, we really encourage talaga na you only buy what you need for yourself.
Celine, show us more products
Yes.
dahil naaano kami, naaliw kami.
Yes. No, because you said you have one in every category, right?
Yes. So actually,
you
this
have-
is a personal fave of mine. So I personally use menstrual pads. This is actually reusable. So we go back to the old times from the pasador. So this
Paano?
one, yan. So this one, para siyang you clip it to your undies. And then
May wings din.
Yes, may wings siya. And then this one, this is the one that absorbs it. And then it's
Super absorbent ba yan? Walang
tried and tested.
tagos.
Tried and tested actually. So we have different versions.
look!
Yeah. Yeah. And then we
Kasi
have
my
different
God,
versions.
this must be talagang sobrang all the cotton, all the...
Yes.
Yeah,
This
plastic.
Actually, if you realize, the first menstrual pad that we used when we were 13 or 12 is still out there in the landfill. So medyo nakaka-hurt siya. You can imagine how much plastic you do every month and consume. So
And this
the
is good, no? Kasi maraming Filipinas
Panty liner.
Yes.
Anti-liner.
And then this
On the
one
days na
naman,
wala.
ito pag heavy na talaga.
May mga diapers din ba? Because we know naman, dati di ba uso yung lampin, tapos hindi naman uso yung nagkaka-rashes yung baby.
Magkano ganito?
This one is 200 pesos for one piece. And then we have the regular pad, 150.
Ito yung
and then
overnight.
This is
Ito yung
120.
regular.
Yes.
How many palet in a day?
I personally
Depends. It depends.
So me, I use 3 of this in a day, and then 1 of the overnight in a day.
At night.
Depende sa cycle, but usually we create a period kit for our customers. Para
love
all
it.
Selena, upcycled rin ba tong mga tela na to?
So the tela is not upcycled, unfortunately, because we have to use an
You use
absorbent
hygiene.
thing
You know
and
what would-
hygiene
Parang
also.
water
What would be
repellent.
Yes, so it's 4 layers. So the last layer is para
They're in the
siya
market
stain.
for that.
Yes.
Ako hindi na.
You know what would be great?
Konti pa.
Ano pa? Ano pang nandyan?
Yes, pet diapers, meron.
You know, I saw a very heartbreaking picture today in the Inquirer of a dolphin that died when they did the, well,
Necropsy.
necropsy. Puro plastic ang laman ng tiyan. Terrible,
Yeah,
terrible.
microplastics are
We
the
are the
worst.
third in the world that pollutes the ocean the most.
And sadly, we have the best oceans in the world.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
else
So
is
we have to
freaky?
do-
Even we have microplastics in us, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure. And
Yeah.
that's what scientists are saying. But
So-
Selena, what's that? Looks like a makeup puff. Very useful for us here. We
yes.
wear a ton of makeup.
So the main purpose of this
for
one
cleaning.
is actually to
I
remove
need
your
that.
makeup.
I need that.
You just add water and then you wipe
Water
your-
lang?
Yeah, water lang. So wala nang any
Bakit?
chemicals.
Anong meron dyan?
So this is made of cotton.
I'm like fur.
So this is made of cotton, so no makeup remover needed at all. So I also use this at home, and then we also have yung mga cotton pads if you're into like putting your toner sa face. So this one, ano siya, alternative siya to cotton balls, to cotton. We actually have cotton buds also na reusable.
But
So
before the show, Selena, we were
Yeah.
talking about the cotton pads, and they're also made by women, right?
So this one is our partner brand Curie, but we also have cotton pads that's made by stay-at-home moms. So we, as much as possible at Simula kasi, we really try to partner with local communities. It's also part of being sustainable.
Yeah.
So, ano
I
siya,
think-
social enterprise.
Yes. So parang sustainability kasi is more of not just, plastic-free items and package-free items. It's really more supporting the local community.
But you also have consumables. Very quickly, we're running out of
Yes.
time, but
Yeah.
natural dishwashing
Na
liquid.
refillable. Go to them para
Yes.
ma-refill.
Yes.
Yes.
Tapos pwede rin, meron din panglaban itong mga to para
Correct.
complete na lahat.
Correct. So we also have detergent that's safe for the ocean also. So even if it goes to the sewers, safe pa rin siya, at least kahit mapunta siya sa ocean.
Biodegradable.
Biodegradable
Oo, kasi
and
yung mga ibang
plant-based.
panglaba,
Yes.
wala. It destroys the rivers.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm curious, based sa mga nabenta ninyo over the last 7 years, ano yung pinakamabenta? Like, what's the easiest na mag-adapt yung mga tao?
The easiest actually is the menstrual cups that we have, the menstrual pads. And then
Patingin ng menstrual cup.
Unfortunately, I didn't bring.
okay.
But
Sige.
yeah, this is also one of our most sellable. This is plantable pencils. So it has seeds at the top. So for example,
So pag
it has-
naubos mo na.
Yes. So instead of throwing it out with the rubber eraser, you plant it after. So aside from this one, we also have yung mga plantable masks during the pandemic, so you can plant it also.
Face mask?
Face
Okay,
masks.
naku, Celine, we will have to
Yeah.
have you back again in the show. Tell us though, or our audience, where they can go to buy.
Yeah, actually, Simula is available in Glorieta too. We're located on the second floor, but they can also purchase in our website, www.simula.ph.
Simulan na ninyo ang inyong sustainable journey. Thank
May
you so
paper
much.
towels din to, di ba? Na
Yes.
naka-roll-roll.
One last word. One last word.
I guess don't be afraid to start. There's always something to learn and unlearn with us. So hopefully a lot of people learned something just by visiting our website. So
Thank you so much,
Thank
Selena.
you.
Thank you. And that's it for Sustainability Tonight.
And that's last, very
that's it
last word.
also for the show?
Kung takot kayo sa menstrual cup, merong reusable pads.
Yeah.
Yes. That's it for the big story tonight.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.
Thank you for watching. Good night.